Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Laura Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Best Served Cold, Joe's first standalone and the next First Law entry after the original trilogy. And on this episode, we review All Dust and The Inevitable. So let's get started. As usual, we must thank you all for your continued support, your continued, unwavering, dedicated support. All of you,
sycophantic, some might say.
yeah, some might say. We want to thank everyone who's ever come across our podcast to be completely devoted and uncriticizing of our podcast. We shall get into that a little bit more later on. But for now, we want to just continue to thank you guys for just following along, cheering us on, commenting on our posts. We really do appreciate it, and we just want to remind you all to continue to hang out with us on our social media platforms and YouTube pages. George, we must continue our crusade to upload all the episodes. Fuck, we keep forgetting.
You can
Every
do
week
it.
something comes up, man.
We were on a
Every
good
week.
run. We uploaded like how many episodes, and then
Like 30,
yeah, fuck.
and then it just went to shit.
Yeah, we gotta get back on that again. Gotta do another Team USA basketball run is what we gotta do. Because we the best, baby. And then sometimes we'll also pull out the Australian breakdancer kind of quality as you.
Oh, goodness.
So we give you a wide range of quality options, I guess you could say. So we'll move on to our first segment because we got a loaded lineup for you this week. Our first segment will be our best meme of the week. Georgie boy, that's you. Take it away.
So this week we have, I think this is another Olympics one. We've got quite a lot of Olympics ones. Well, this has been going on, which is good. This is crates of Bigfoots on House of the Meme Maker, and I don't know what team this is, but it's a celebration after scoring a goal. It looks like soccer to me, but it's Therese and her ladies are waiting after hearing about Ladislav's death. And you know what? Could you fucking blame her? What a fucking vile cretin.
I like the idea that she was like, "Oh man, I dodged a bullet, thank God," and then she's like, "Oh, now I have to marry a commoner." My God, minor nobility, disgusting.
His mother was a whore.
Ladislav was an ass, but at least he was nobility.
Exactly. We're ripping out the old eugenics. At least his blood was pure.
Yeah, right. She's like, he may have been a rapist, but he came from an unimpeachable line. Okay, Therese, we see where your priorities are, and we see how you stand with your fellow woman. Okay. Alrighty. Just a heads up, George. I think that's the team's USA soccer team for women.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
because I see the US on one of the shirts.
That's some good detective work there, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Dang, dude.
what I do.
It's
What I
probably
do.
because you watched the game.
I did not, unfortunately. I have not been watching
You
the
know,
Olympics.
Jeff just loves the Olympics. He loves the Olympics so much.
I
He watches
know.
it every day, all day long. In fact, didn't you call off work?
I don't.
Team USA, huh? No, you don't need to say anything. Well, we just know how patriotic you are.
I feel like I betrayed my country because I haven't watched one fucking second. Jesus. Oh,
Me
God.
neither, because none of it fucking matters.
Hey man, hey, the Olympics are cool. All right.
Yeah.
The
pretty cool.
Olympics are cool.
Except
If I do see it on, I'm like, hang on, let me watch this for a minute.
although
Did you see the guy doing the Mortal Kombat jump spamming in the fencing?
What he was doing?
So they were fencing and they were having a perfectly normal match, and then he just starts jumping up and down on the spot, and the other guy's so confused that he loses. And like, well, it's technically not against the rules, so it's fine. He won. He literally won by jump spamming.
Well, that's cool. Good for him.
It was incredible.
I I did not. I did not see that. I did not see that. I was gonna say something about the Olympics. Fuck. George.
So
edited
anyway, yeah, thank you very much, Great to Bigfoots, for that meme. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a good one. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. So now we'll go on to our first chapter read through, and this one is all dust. We start off with the perspective of our boy Shivers, and he's lounging in a beach chair overlooking the siege, and he's feeling real good about himself, right? He's taking a little bit more than satisfaction in the fact that Grand Duke Rogant, or King Rogant for all of 5 seconds, is now dead. Oh, and Shivers, he likes this philosophizing kind of thing where he's like, doesn't matter how high or low born you are, death comes for us all, and in all sorts of manners. Uh, he talks about how an old friend of Shivers had fought all 7 days in the Battle of the High Places from the first trilogy. Didn't get one scratch. Then he scratched himself on a thorn leaving the valley the morning after, and got the rot, and then died a few nights later. No point.
That is such a Joe Abercrombie death.
Yo, for real. And then Shivers also points out a noble death, like what Rudd Three Trees went through, and before they're hanged against Fenris the Feared, leading the charge, sword in his fist as the life left him. That wasn't any better because maybe men would sing a song about it when they were drunk, terribly. But for the person that actually died, death was death. Same for everyone. The great leveler, as the hillmen called it. Lords and beggars made equal. So Shivers is taking.
Nice bit of introspection there from Shivers. That he's really, really come to terms with death at this point. He's just like, yeah, what happens, happens.
I like this too because he is like we get like a whole view of his ideology at this point because now he's kind of like he's finally got this full idea of what it is, and it's basically the idea that like kind of nothing matters because in the end it's all the same. Very like nihilistic, pessimistic point of view of thinking about how what's the point of it doesn't matter what you do. All that matters is that you get to win so you can live as long as possible because when you're dead, nothing matters. So I'm going to do what I want to. And that's when I'm based everything I am around. The fact that, well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's like almost like a evil stoic. But instead of using it to make the most out of life, he's using it to make an excuse for himself to be justified in everything he does. Because he wasn't happy with himself before, and now he is. Now he is happy because now he understands how things really work, even though he's kind of got it messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's become the bad kind of nihilist, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we believe in nothing.
Yep, very true, very true. And he's taking this all in, right? He's enjoying this mindset that he has now. I am mistaken. I got confused with something else. He's not chilling on a lounge chair just yet. He is riding on a horsey with Monza. They are, riding through the siege, and they're riding through from the tunnel into the outer ward of Fontesarmo after the big boom boom that Casca and Cesaria did. Rest in peace, Cesaria. And he's pretty impressed. He goes, "Wow, they knocked this down, jeez." And Monza is listen, a little bit of Gurkish sugar will do the trick. Apparently, Gurkish sugar, and so we have to remember that Fontesarmo is a fortress built into the mountain, sort of, and it has the outer wall, right? Then a ward, and then the inner wall. So the Thousand Swords, after they made their way into that outer ward, they have set up camp. Because at this point they're not really expecting. They're not expecting like the defenders to be shooting arrows at them. Really, I guess they're still kind of far from that point. So they rein up to a spot where I guess they think Casca will be chilling, will be hanging out. And we see, that they're actually surrounded. They're not surrounded, but they're accompanied by Volfier and his lads, his recruits, or his squad. If we remember, I think it was from the last episode we mentioned that Volfier is a gentleman who was a sergeant in Grand Duke Orso's army.
He's he's a fucking hero. Okay.
He's a goddamn hero. He was, in the battle at Aspria. He obviously the army routed, but him and his squad fought their way back to Talons, and then they come back to
How
Talons.
disappointing for them as well. They've just.
Right?
I just want to add this next bit where he's like, "Oh, do you wish that you were with your old master?" And it's like, "Well, I kind of wish we'd beat you at Osprey, to be honest." I just love how he's got the balls to say that right to her face.
I love
that's
what
the
I
kind
love
of
what
shit that
he said
Monza
that.
loves, though. The
Yeah,
honesty.
she loves that honesty. And before we get to that, one of the Volfier's recruits is just a lad, just a boy, and he when he sees all the dead men, I guess from the initial not siege, storming of the walls, he sees all these corpses, and he went a little pale. And whereas Shivers, to him, all the corpses are just part of the scenery now. They just add to the ambiance.
Yeah, because the
And-
corpses don't matter; they're dead. They don't mean anything.
Right. And the boy notices. He asks out loud, "Why do some of them have bare feet?" the dead bodies, he means. And then Shivers goes, "Well, because they had good boots." And so the kid just looks down at his own feet and he goes, "What the fuck?" And he puts one hand over his mouth. It's just like, oh, gas.
Not so noble as you thought it'd be, kiddo.
And I like Volfier here. He's like fucking with the boy, but also like having fun with Shivers. He, gives the boy a pat on the back. He winks at Shivers and he goes, boots or no boots, doesn't make no difference once they killed you. Don't worry, boy, you'll get used to it. And the kid's like, you don't. And the Shivers goes, yeah, if you're lucky, well, you'll live if you live long enough. And then Monza goes, if you're lucky, you'll find another trade. So then she tells Volfier to wait here. And Shivers
I do like that little like note between Monza, like Shivers' ideology is in full display, and Monza, even though despite she's usually like, Maszy and characters the same, even to this random person, she's like, you should get out while you still can. Everyone else is like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, war. This is part of the game, kid. Monza's like, just don't even play the game. Just get out.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
So just to give you a heads up, it wasn't to Monza that Volfier was saying what you were talking about, because she walks away.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
It's all, no, don't worry. So Shivers being left behind with Volfier, he asks him, hey, how are things going on Talons? You got everything in order? And Volfier goes, yeah, I hope so. I got the fires put out, and we made a deal with the criminals in the old quarter that they'd keep an eye on things there for a week, and we wouldn't keep an eye on them for a month afterwards. Shivers goes, that's coming to something when you're looking at thieves to keep order. Volfier goes, yep, it's a topsy-turvy world, all right. And he goes, my old master's on the other side of that wall, a man I fought my whole life for, never had any riots when he was in charge. And then Shivers goes, wish you were with him? And Volfier kind of goes, I wish we'd won at Aspria. Then the choice wouldn't have come up. But then again, I wish my wife hadn't fucked the baker while I was away in the Union on campaign 3 years ago. Wishing don't change anything. And then Shivers appreciates that. He goes, that there is a fact.
That also is our 100% concrete explanation of the timeline. Is Volfier randomly saying, yeah, 3 years ago, I was on campaign, whenever the Gurkish were attacking, essentially. That's what he's talking about. So we know that from this point, and it's almost been a year since the start of the book. So the Best Served Cold takes place just a little over 2 years after the end of the original trilogy, which is pretty interesting. That's shorter than what I thought originally. So try to keep track of all the timelines here.
Yeah,
there's no way to lay it out.
No, but I do think it would have made sense that it was relatively short, just because Shivers would have had to cross the north just to get to some port, to get to Styria. Because remember, after the whole thing with Black Down Logan, Shivers was like, I am out. Fuck this. Peace.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we get a bit of a break, and then we're now in the perspective of our boy, famed soldier of fortune, the Como Casca. He's sitting on his chair, chilling like a villain, And he's watching his goat graze on the wet grass. This new goat that he's had for a few chapters now. And he likes that something about the goat is just inherently calming to the man. And then out of nowhere he sees that Monza's walking towards him, and the first thing she asks is, "Why the hell do you have a goat?" He goes, she is a noble beast. She reminds me, in your absence, to be tenacious, single-minded, and hardworking." And then he goes, by the way, I hope you won't be offended when I say that you look tired, which is, you don't say that to a woman. That is me.
I mean, I think it's okay to say to Monza. She probably is like, yeah, why do you think I'm tired?
Yeah, as she goes, long night, because apparently he goes, and I like how he gives like these like very short one word or very short answers. She goes, long night. He goes, I'm sure. She goes, the Austrians pulled out of Talons. There was a riot and panic. He goes, inevitable. And then she goes, someone spread a rumor that the Union fleet was on its way. And then he goes, yeah, rumors can do more damage than the ships themselves. And then she mutters, the crown was poisoned. And then Casca gives like a longer answer here. He goes, the leaders of hysteria consumed by their own lust for power. There's a message there, right? Murder and metaphor combined. The poisoner poet responsible has managed to kill a chancellor, a duke, a countess, a first citizen, and a king, and teach the world an invaluable lesson all about life in one evening. Your friend and mine, Morvir, maybe? And then Monza goes, maybe. And then Casca notes that he never thought he had a sense of humor like that. And then Casca asks her, why did he spare her? And she goes, he didn't, but her glove did, her gloved right hand. And Casca obviously burst out laughing. But here's the thing: they keep pointing out the right hand, right? That's why I thought it was just a one glove, like her one hand.
Well, yeah, but normally, like the whole reason with the dress thing is like they wouldn't put one glove on her.
Right, because you are right. Because I think when you did point it out, and I looked at they did say she was gloves, right? Plural. Yeah. So
I think it means more that if she hadn't had a crippled right hand, then she wouldn't have been wearing gloves at all.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so then it's funny that Casca is laughing because like it's ironic that by crushing her right hand, Duke Orso and them saved her life technically, and
that is just a horrible bit of irony, and she's just like, God, I wish I hadn't even survived that, for fuck's sake.
And then she goes, I might wait for things to be settled before I enjoy the ironies. He goes, look, enjoy them now, because I've wasted years for settled moments. They never come. Look around you. The Ephoians almost all deserted before daybreak. The Sipanes are already splitting to factions and falling back south. The army of Peranti started their civil war. They were basically killing each other in the trenches, and Victus had to break it up. Victus, of all people. He goes, some of the Austrians are still here, but only because they don't know what else to do. And he goes, a lot of them are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, which technically he guesses they are. And he goes, he's amazed just how quickly things can fall apart. Styria was united for perhaps the length of a minute and is now plunged into deeper chaos than ever. Who knows who will seize power, and where, and how much? It seems an end may have been called to the years of blood prematurely.
I love how Casca always gets given these sort of maudlin, monologues about the world and the state of the world, and he's just scratching his neck like, what a world.
What a crazy time, eh? And then Monta goes, it's a perfect opportunity or ideal situation for a mercenary, I guess, huh? He goes, yeah, you think so, but even I would say sometimes there's too much chaos, even for me. He goes, he swears that the 1,000 swords are the most coherent and orderly body of troops left up here, that should tell you something about the utter disorder that has been going around here. And he goes, I thought I might take the brigade down towards Visserine and press my claims there. I very much doubt Rogant will be honoring our agreement now. And then she just interrupts him. She says, stay. He goes, stay? And she goes, yes, stay. And then there's a long pause, and he goes, "You have no right to ask me that." And she says, "But I am asking. Help me." And then he goes, "Help you." It's crazy when anyone's best hope. What of your loyal subjects, the good people of Talons? Is there no help to be had there? And Monza points out that they're not as keen for battle as they were for parade. And they're not going to lift a finger in case they get Orso back in charge. And he hangs every man that was, I guess, involved in the reversal siege or whatever.
Mhm.
So she says that she's raised what she's could, but she can't trust them here, not against Orso. Because you never know which way they'll jump. He points out divided loyalties, huh? He has some experience with them in a scenario. And then he goes, "Have you considered the possibility of maybe leaving it be?" And she's kind of stunned. She says, "What?" Oh, he goes, "Well, I myself have left 1,000 tasks unfinished, unstarted, or outright failed across the whole breadth of the circle of the world." Name drop. In the end, they bother me considerably less than my successes. And she goes, "I'm not you." He goes, no doubt, but you could forget about revenge. You could compromise. You could be merciful." And she goes, "Mercy and cowardice are the same." And he goes, "Really are they indeed?" She goes,
I like that. I really
ahead.
love that the note here that he says is Koski gets a sad smile because he's heard this 1,000 times. He sees Monza who she is. In fact, arguably, he is probably the only person who actually understands Monza at this point. I don't even think Benna did, or at least if Benna did, then he was manipulating. He manipulated her the whole time.
Oh, for
Koska
sure.
Mhm.
was never trying to manipulate her. Not really. He just, was like lazy and wanted her to do it, you know what I mean. He wasn't purposely trying to like, ooh, how do I get the most out of her? Like everybody else was. Koska sees her for who she is, and is at this point he is just like, that's sad, Monza, that you still think this way after all this shit. That's like the way I hear him say that.
Yeah. And she keeps it up. She goes that conscience is an excuse not to do what needs doing. He, no use weeping about it. That's how the world is. And she goes, the good get nothing extra. When they die, they turn to shit like the rest of us. You have to keep your eyes ahead, always ahead. Fight one battle at a time. You can't hesitate, no matter the cost, no matter the... And then Casca just interrupts her. He goes, "You know why I always loved you, Monza?" She goes, "Huh?" And he goes, "Even after you betrayed me, more after you betrayed me, because I know you don't really believe any of that rubbish. Those are the lies you tell yourself so you can live with what you've done, what you've had to do." She just doesn't say anything for another long pause. And she goes, You always said I had a devil in me." He goes, "Did I? Well, so do we all. You're no saint. We all know that. A child of a bloody time, but you're nothing as dark as you like to make out." And he goes, "I pretend to care for the men, but in truth, I really don't give a damn whether they live or die. You you always did care, but you pretend not to give a damn. I never saw you waste one man's life, and yet they like me better. There's justice." He goes, "You always did the right thing by me. Even when you betrayed me, it was better than I deserved." And he hasn't forgotten that time in Muris after the siege when she wouldn't let the slavers take children. Everyone wanted to take money. He did. Faithful did. Even Benna, especially Benna, but not you. I like how he had to put on especially Benna, like that little dirtbag.
Yeah, he's like, I fucking hate Benna.
And then apparently she goes, "I only gave you a scratch." And he goes, "Don't be modest. You were ready to kill me. These are ruthless times we live in, and in ruthless times, mercy and cowardice are entire opposites. We all turn to shit when we die, Monza, but not all of us are shit while we're alive. Most of us are. God knows I am, but you never were." I want to... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what I love about this chapter so much is the fact we start off with Shiver's ideology being all nihilistic and talking about how when you die, which is inevitable, then nothing matters because of that. And we're about to the end of this chapter, and Casca's reverse ideology. Well, he's saying what Monza's ideology actually is the opposite of that, which is, well, we all turn to shit when we die, but we're not shit while we live. And I really, really think that's such a good like parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with it, like showing that who Shivers thinks he's supposed to be, he's got it completely wrong. And at the same time, the thing that Monza always has preached is the opposite of what she actually thinks at all. And this is the first time she's ever had somebody like tell her that,
Mm-hmm.
in like a for lack of a better term, I don't want to say I don't want to use this too strong of a word, but in a loving way for him.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well, he
think
does love
it's
her.
just he does love her, yeah. For in many ways.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's another parallel here. If you think about it, like from the beginning of the book, we saw from at least from what Monza told herself and from what she told other people, mercy and cowardice are the same, right? Uh, That basically this kind of what she was spouting here, and then we get to the end of this book, and we see that Casca is able to see right through it and be like, you never believed that, you never believed that. And then, funny enough, at the beginning of this book, Shivers was, of the belief that what you do while you're alive matters. You try to be a better man. Remember, that was his whole thing that he kept trying to tell himself. And then maybe he never really believed it, but that was the framework that he was operating under, right? Or trying to
Yep.
operate under. And then by this point in time right now, he's flipped. He's flipped to the other side of the border, folks. But yeah, so I enjoyed that where Casca kind of just right through it, and I want to ask something about. So he never forgotten that time in Muris after the siege when you wouldn't let the slavers have those children. I thought, and she goes, only gave him a scratch. I thought the only wound that Casca took at the siege of Muris was an arrow in the shoulder, and Monza rescued him.
I think this happened after
Oh
that.
wait, no, I'm mistaken. She was rescued by Casca.
Yes.
Mhm.
Never mind, that's right. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
And there was a different one where.
That was
Oh no, I think Costco just got his recollection wrong when he was going over it. So
right,
Yeah.
right.
The idea that she just gave, because you know how Casca like downplays things, right? So he was even downplaying this. He's saying that basically, like she's like, "Oh, I only gave you a scratch," and he's like, "Whatever," like. That implies too that she fucking like whipped out her sword or something and was like, "You ain't fucking doing shit."
yeah,
That's what that implies to some degree. Or she obviously injured him to some degree to stop him. And probably, I bet he remembers that because that was the moment he realized, like, oh, Monta's actually like, yeah, she's shit, but she actually has the core of a good person who wants to do the right thing. She's done what she's had to do, like, yes, and she's not a good person, but there's a fundamental core difference. Casca has never actually cared. Monza has always cared. That's why Monza is a good leader. That's why she does everything she does. It's because she wants to like minimize casualties. She tries to remember all the men's names, and she's fronting being hard because you have to, because she's a woman inside of this kind of world, not because she actually likes it, but because she hates herself for it at the same time. It's what keeps her in balance to be effective. And I just think like the first time I read this, I didn't like. I kind of got a grasp of the idea. But to have Casca be the one to be like, listen, this isn't true. You did this good thing this time. I remember. You couldn't hide that point in your life. Like, stop. Just think. Like, he doesn't even like tell her to stop, but like he makes her think. It's like he's just is kind of tired of hearing her gusto and everything, and he's like, just can we not? I know what you
And
are,
again,
Monza.
exactly. I think you're exactly right, and it's interesting that Monza kind of thinks of herself as this horrible, horrible person who's done all these horrible things, even though we've seen throughout these flashbacks with Bella that she doesn't actually do any of it. But and yet she still blames herself, which is it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And go ahead, Harrison. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say, I mean, that's a trait of a well-meaning person.
Yeah.
Somebody who feels bad for actions that wasn't even their fault.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think it's such a it's such like a levity in this story to feel that too, because it should be Casca the one who says it, and even though we don't get to really see her work it out in her mind like Shivers does, she does have a slightly different demeanor from here to the end of the book. I don't think she says mercy and cowardice are the same. I don't think she says it ever again. I know we don't have that much still left
No,
to
I
go.
don't.
After this, no, I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think she says any of that stuff because even though she's still going to front, and we'll see later on, she's still going to be like, I'm in charge, but because you have to be. She is not, it doesn't seem to me from this point on that she's lying to herself anymore.
Right. She doesn't believe she needs to do that to justify. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, which to me, that is a character arc and that is a character change, and that's the kind of stuff that Joe does. Yeah, their actions and they still act, people don't change XYZ, but this is why I disagree because people do change. It just takes time.
Yeah,
and it's about intention.
Yeah, and maybe their situations don't change. Maybe they find themselves in similar situations.
Yeah.
But the notion of changing and not changing, it's cyclical, right? When it comes to stuff, these books at least. I do want to point out that we're probably going to get a couple more interactions between these two, before the end of the book, and I don't think it's going to be too much of a spoiler. But if it is, George, take this out.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's too much of a spoiler, but seeing how much Casca does love Monza, right? How much he loves her. And, in a way, he's devoted to making sure her cause is successful. It makes me a little sad, a little bit that much more sadder to see where he ends up in Red Country. You know what I mean? Like, I would have thought, spoiler, but I would have thought he would have.
Even at the beginning, it's not really that much of a spoiler, is it? Because he's literally like that at the beginning of Red Country, so it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like my point is like, he couldn't find a place in Monza's court, a position or something like that. Maybe
it would have been boring to him. So
yeah, I guess, yeah, I know it would have been. I just, you feel bad.
Also, the thing that makes this scene cool as well is the fact that we're also getting. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say as well, because we're trying to talk about the story here with this part, is that, Casca here is completely sober. He is completely sober, and I think that is saying something. It's sad. You're right, because it's to your guys' point, it makes it his I can't, you know what I'm saying. It makes his fall even sadder. Yes, thank you, George. Because right now, he's at his peak. Like, he is at his peak in every way, and yeah, it's in spite of somebody else, and but like, look how much good he did for just. I mean, yeah, it's Monza, but we get to see his ideology here of thinking about, like, he kind of has the nihilistic ideology, but he's also able to recognize good people, and he doesn't want that to be like ruined, I guess is the word. Like, he doesn't want that to be forgotten. He knows that Monza wants to be a good person, and he does not want her to not realize that before he doesn't see her. Like, he feels like he has to say this to her. It doesn't mean Casca's a good person at all. I just think that it's interesting and so cool that he's also a dichotomy of Shivers himself. Shivers and him have a similar ideology on how to live life right now, but he is not so pessimistic enough to be like, this has to be this way. He recognizes that there is good, and that's good, and it's okay, and that is, that's noble. He just isn't like that. Where Shivers is like, everything's shit.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Well said, Harrison.
And just to get back to this, she's blinking, after he goes off, and it says that she's full of shit, that she's not as bad as she thinks she is. She talks about she's actually the best of them, of the 1,000 swords and all that. And she goes, "Will you help me?" And he, was going to drink from his flask because he's not sober, realized it was empty, and then goes, damn it. He goes, of course I'll help you. There was never the slightest question in my mind. I've already organized the assault. And she goes, what? And he goes, I just wanted to hear you ask. I must say, I'm surprised that you did, though. The mere idea that the 1,000 swords would do the hard work of a siege, have one of the richest palaces in Styria at their mercy, and walk away without a scrap of booty? Have you lost your reason? I couldn't prize those greedy bastards away with a spade. We're attacking at dawn tomorrow, with or without you, and we'll be picking this place clean. More than likely, my boys will have the lead off the lead off the roofs by lunchtime, rule of quarters, and all that. And then she asks him, and Orso? He goes, Orso is yesterday's man. Do as you please with him. And that's the end of that chapter. Boys, how do you rate it?
Harrison, do you want to take the first one?
I think I'm gonna rate this one an 8 out of 9. I think I just really, really love how Monza and Casca's conversation. I think it's such a like emotional pinnacle of the book. Not like the climax, but like for her, especially, even though it's not like talked about, because Joe is so subtle with these moments and stuff. So I just really liked it. Of course, not a 9, I think, because it is just them talking. But I really, really like the conversation. So I think an 8 is what it is for me.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to give it the same, to be honest. Like you said, Harrison, I think this is sort of like if not the climax to Monza's and Oscar's relationship, then it's definitely getting. We're getting there,
Yeah.
and it's very, very cathartic for Monza to finally hear those words that she knows are true.
Yes, hugely beneficial to her.
Yeah, and apart from that, it's funny as well, so that's always good. How about you, Jeff?
I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 9. I was gonna give it an 8 just to do the trifecta, but we're here. We're about integrity here at the Circle of the World podcast, and so I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 9. It's a great chapter. Love it. Just not a lot happened to move the plot forward. We already knew that the Thousand Swords were sieging Fontesarmo, and you know that we like. It would have been crazy if he would have been like, "Nah, I'm out. I'm going to Visserine or something." But but the conversation, like you guys said, great conversation. We have Shivers, full blown accepting his nihilism now, his nice outlook on life, you could say. We have Casca kind of just revealing to us that, well, we've always seen it through his mind's eye that he really does care for Monza, and then also just kind of confronting Monza and confirming to us, the reader, that she's not as much of a hard ass as she comes off as.
Yeah.
She doesn't believe that, but so that's the only reason it's not an 8, is just because not like a lot drove the plot forward, in my opinion. But I mean, I guess maybe possibly because we see that Shivers, if he's accepted his nihilism, does that mean he's gonna do something? He's gonna do something to Monza for Eider, and then obviously Casca ordering the siege to assault to go on. That does drive the plot forward, but nothing while we're reading. But so 7 out of 9 for me. Thank you, boys, for that. That's great. Let's move on to our character spot. Who are we spotlighting this episode?
Well, I wanted to mention him before because he's just so cool. Or at least the story is, because you never get like these kind of characters inside of Joe's books. Every now and then there's some kind of random badass character, which is nice because, like in real life, every now and then there are people like this. So, Volpier is a veteran soldier who he gives us the concrete date for when everything occurs, which is nice. And my God, all the way across the area with 13 guys, fully armed and equipped, and 23. Then has 23. My bad, and then has the knowledge or the wisdom to switch sides to Monza because he knows that's what's best, and he fights for talents, not just for Duke Orso. I think it's just like one of those soldiers. He's like Forrest, We'll get to Forrest, but he's like Forrest. He's just like a badass soldier who's fairly, pretty much a straight edge, and just like, yeah, well, it is what it is. I switch sides. It sucks to suck, but I'm still cool as fuck. So.
Yeah, I think Volfier is an unsung hero. Like, he's just like completely loyal. He has switched sides now, but he literally had no other option.
Yeah.
And again, I love how he turns to Monza and he's like, he says to Shivers about Monza, he's like, well, why the fuck? I would have rather won, but we're here. So.
Yeah, so he didn't have to make that choice. And I like that he mentioned that because he's totally okay with just the order of things, right?
Yeah.
He's okay with having been a man for Orso, doing the work that they've been doing, the good work of uniting Styria. before that pesky Monza, butted her nose into his business. But, yeah, no, Volfier is a cool guy. He's a cool guy because now that he's accepted, like things have changed, and he had to make this choice. He's just gonna go about his job with the same diligence as he would under Orso. So I thought that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Absolutely. He accepts his place in the world, even though it's changed around a lot. And I think that's quite admirable.
Yeah, not everyone needs to follow their dreams or their passions, right?
It's just a day job.
Yeah, you can find happiness in a day job, and that's totally fine. Just take care of your family. I mean, this guy doesn't have a family because his wife is out here, blowing off bakers. But
Yeah,
whatever.
Fuck Wolfier's wife, bro.
Fuck his wife.
Fuck
yeah,
that bitch.
Everybody else has. So
Who sleeps with a baker? It's not like the guy's gonna be a millionaire. Fucking goofball.
She's like, she's got a bread fetish. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, he's got that floury dick.
Do you beat that dough with that dick?
Come starch my pussy. No, I'm kidding.
that's how you get a yeast infection.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey. So, yeah. Well, thanks, Volfier, for showing up and showing out like a good soldier like you always does. So, we'll move on to our second and final chapter read through for the episode. This is The Inevitable. Boop, ba-da-da, boop, boop, boop. And we start off with our boy Friendly. He's out here doing what else but rolling some dice. The dice came up 2 and 1. And so 3 years ago today, Sajam had bought Friendly's freedom from safety. So 3 years he had been homeless. He had followed 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman all across Syria and back. And in that time, the place he had hated least was the Thousand Swords. And not just because it had a number in his name, though of course that was a good start. The fact that there was order here to a point. Men were given tasks with given times to do them and knew their places in the big machine. Kind of like Volfier. The company was all neatly quantified in the notary's 3 ledgers, number of men under each captain, length of service, amount of pay, times reported, equipment hired. Everything could be counted. The guy, he's loving it. He's loving it, so to speak.
It's how it should be.
And, it talks about all the rules like rules of use of whores, of drinking, of gambling, of fighting, who sits where, who goes where, and who goes when. And the rule of quarters. Dun, 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 dun. What? So, but Friendly's favorite place, though, happens to be the mess, right? There's a routine to the meal times, line of jostling men, all this stuff. He actually likes that order, And he also knows that
he likes bringing order to this chaotic world.
For sure.
I love Friendly.
And when there's chaos introduced, like when rules get broken, that there are fixed punishments, right? Normally it's a number of lashes. He saw a guy get whipped for pissing in the wrong place. It did not seem like it was such a crime, but Victus had explained that if you start off pissing wherever you please, then you shit wherever you please, and then everybody dies of the plague, which is very, very true. Very true.
I've seen it happen.
Yep. And then Friendly notes that the men that are going to be in the scaling parties this morning are going to get 2 extra meatballs and 1 extra spoon of soup. 2 in 1.
Nice. Totally worth it.
Totally worth it. And Casca came up to him, and he was like, "We'll be attacking within the hour." And all Friendly does is nod. He goes, And he goes, ladders mainly. Monza will be going with them. She wants to be the first to Orso. Entirely determined. She's set firm on vengeance. Friendly doesn't really say anything, just shrugs. He goes, and then Casca goes, "In all honesty, I worry for her." Friendly again shrugs because he was indifferent.
I love how Friendly has gotten this far throughout this story and doesn't give a single fuck about anybody else.
He's just along for the ride.
Seriously. And then Casca goes, "The battle's a dangerous place." Friendly shrugs again. He goes, "Yeah, that's obvious." And then Casca goes, "My friend, I want you to stick near her in the fighting. Make sure no harm comes to her." And Friendly's first thought is, "What about you?" And Casca goes, "Me? The only shield I need is the high regard in which men hold me.
The most Costco thing ever.
Friendly goes, are you sure? He goes, no, but I'll be where I always am. Well behind the fighting with my flask for company. Something tells me she'll need you more. There are enemies still out there, and Friendly, watch out closely and take great care. The fox is most dangerous when at bay. That Orso will have some deadly tricks in store. Just be sure of that. It's inevitable. Now, watch out in particular for Morveer. And then Friendly goes, all right. So Mercado would have him and Shivers watching her, a party of 3, as it had been when they killed Gaba. 2 watching 1. He wrapped the dice up, put them in his pocket, and he listened to the men grumbling and counted the complaints. Then we switch over to Shivers' perspective. Now Shivers is chilling in a lounge chair, just basking in the sun, bathing in it, getting, smiling. It's a great summer morning. It feels like a great summer morning in the north, right? Like mornings he fought great battles in. Mornings he done high deeds and a few low ones as well. And Monza comes over and she notes that he seems happy for a man about to risk his life. And he goes, yeah, I've made peace with myself. She goes, good for you. That's the hardest war for all of us to win. And he goes, I didn't say I won. I just stopped fighting. And she goes, I'm starting to think that's the only only victory worth a shit. And
True.
And then Shivers, after watching the mercenaries getting ready to go and everything, he goes, you ever get the feeling that you're in the wrong place? That if you could just get over the next hill, cross the next river, then it'll be all right? And Monza kind of goes, that's my entire life, more than less. That's just one more thing, and then things will be all right. But doesn't seem like it actually turns out to be any different, Shivers thinks. And he's learned to just stick in the place he's at, just to be the man that he is. And Monza goes, well, what are you? He goes, a killer. And Monza goes,
he's such an edgelord right now. Like, you think about that Shivers is like my age right now. He's like he's even younger than I am at this point, because Shivers is like early 20s, like best case scenario. Mm-hmm. And he's such an edgelord right now. He's like, yeah, I'm, that's just the way life is. I'm a killer through and through. You're like, all right, Shivers.
Yeah. And she goes, is that all? He goes, yep, pretty much. That's why you took me on, isn't it? And then she kind of like looks down on the ground. She goes, what happened to being an optimist? So we can see she's not liking this full turn from Shivers. And he goes, can I be an optimistic killer? He goes, a man once told me, the man who killed my brother actually, that good and evil are a matter of where you stand. We all got our reasons. Whether they're decent ones all depends on who you ask, doesn't it? And he goes, I thought you would have said so as well, of all people. And Monza goes, maybe I would have once. Now I'm not so sure. Maybe those are just the lies we tell ourselves so we can live with what we've done. So she's echoing Casca's words about herself.
Yep.
And he's busting out laughing at this point. And she goes, what the fuck? And he goes, look, I don't need excuses, Chief. That's what I'm trying to tell you. What's the name for it when a thing's bound to happen? There's a word for it, right? When there's no stopping something, no avoiding it, no matter what you try to do. And she goes, inevitable. He goes, that's it. The inevitable. I'm happy with what's done, and I'm happy with what's coming. And at that moment, a whistle goes off, and the first group of mercenaries are, dun, 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 heading down to the wall to scale it with their ladders and everything, and Shivers is cheering them on. And there's a bunch of charging men. There's another whistle, and there's another wave. And so they're starting to storm Fontesarmo in earnest, folks. Ladders are going up, ladders are going down because people are, dropping oil or dropping rocks and stuff like that.
Just getting a big stick and poking the ladder over.
Yeah, just get the fork out here, mate. Get the fork. Fuck off.
Fuck off.
I'm sorry, they're in stereo, half-baked Italian. So, hey, fuck off. Hey, get away from here. Hey.
Get the ladder from my walls.
Hands off of my spaghetti. Yeah.
You are French. You're like looking over the walls like a Monty Python.
I love it. I just want to say as well. I want to say as well that I love the fact that the food is like meatballs. It's just like so Italian. It's like, you go on the ladder today? You're too Mr. Meatball for you.
And
Oh,
the
that's
anchovy soup. Hey, Montebello.
That's funny.
Mozzarella, Parmigiana,
Oh my god.
Oh, for all our Italian fans, we apologize. um, so yeah, they're looking over at the waves, the soldiers and mercenaries really, and some of them have made it over the parapets. And at some point, now there's the third wave. More heavier armored men are making their way up. So now Monza's like, all right, now let's go. So he goes, all right, right you are. And they're going up the ladders. They swing over the parapets, and then looking around, she could see like where to go into Orso's palace, and she tells him, let's go. And he says, right behind you, chief. And he grins because now he's just a smiling guy. He's just full of life and laughter right
Bigger.
now. Yep. And then we switch. Whatchamacallit, perspectives. And there's this gentleman who we wonder who this gentleman is. He's walking around the trenches. He's like noticing that Duke Orso's palace is just like it's just like maggots around the corpse. And then it's Shank. It's our boy Shanked. He's seen it all before because apparently as an eater he's lived for quite some time. And he walks up to the gatehouse of Fontesarmo, where there's a single mercenary standing guard. And when I say standing guard, I mean sitting down and basically nodding off. And the guy goes, "What's your business?" And the Shank goes, "Duke Orso commissioned me to kill Monscaro Mercado, now the Grand Duchess of Talents." And the guard goes, "Hilarious." And he just goes back to sleep.
It's just so real. The guy totally would be like, "Okay, yeah, buddy."
I love how whenever we see one of the Thousand Sword sentries, they're always just like not doing the job at all.
It's awesome.
Hey, whatever, you just go in, it doesn't matter.
and Shank, he ponders that men often believe the truth. Like they don't really believe the truth is the last thing they believe.
Yeah.
And then he noticed he's like looking around at it, like, oh wow, this assault has they've brought down some stonework. Some fountains have gotten damaged, things like that. Just a lot of confusion, but that's war, right? And as he's walking, he's suddenly comes to a halt beside a ruined fountain, and he's just watching the wounded struggling against the inevitable, because we're using that word a lot this chapter. And then a man slips suddenly from behind the stonework and almost runs straight into him. An unremarkable balding man wearing a worn studded leather jerkin. Gah! My most profound apologies. And Shank says nothing. And the guy goes, are you, that is to say, here to participate in the assault? Shank goes, in a way. And the guy goes, as am I, in a way. And Shank notes that nothing could have been more natural than a mercenary fleeing the fighting, but something did not add up. This guy is dressed like a thug, but he spoke like a bad writer. his nearest hand flapped around as though to distract attention from the other, which was clearly creeping towards a concealed weapon. Shank frowned. He had no desire to draw undue attention, so he gave this man a chance, just as he always did, wherever possible. And Shank says, we both have our work then. Let us delay each other no longer. And the stranger brightened. Absolutely so. To work. And then we shift perspectives. Turns out it's fucking Morveer, obviously.
And of course, Morveer's like, aha, I've once again escaped the daring. I've got unnoticed, completely unnoticed.
And to think he was going to try to poison Shank, that would have been hilarious. And I like how Morveer goes, he gives a false chuckle, then realized he had accidentally strayed into using his accustomed voice. To work, then. To work. And the guy goes, to work, and Shank's eyes were never wavering. And so Morveer goes, right. Well, all right. So he just kind of sidesteps him. And then I like how he goes, allowing his hand to come free of his mounted needle and drop inconspicuous to his side. Meanwhile, to Shank, it was conspicuous all the fucking time. And without a doubt, the fellow had been possessed of an unusual manner, but had Morvir's mission been to poison every person with an unusual manner, he would have never been halfway done. Fortunately, his mission was to poison 7 of the most important persons in the nation, and it was one which he had only lately achieved spectacular success. He was still flushed with the scale of his achievement, the audacity of his execution, the unparalleled success of his plan. He was beyond doubt the greatest poisoner ever, and had become indisputably a great man of history.
I love how at this point he's just absolutely just glazing himself. He does not give no regard. We're getting to see him in his full at his peak.
Mm-hmm. And how it galled him that he can never truly share his grand achievement with the world, never enjoy the adulation his triumph undoubtedly deserved. Oh, if only the... can you guys say something real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, we're here.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear everything fine.
Can you hear us?
No, my headphones couldn't hear you. I heard like a click, and I was like, oh. Oh, if only the doubting headmaster at the orphanage could have only witnessed this happy day, he would have been forced to concede that Castor Morvir was indeed prize-winning material. If his wife could have seen it, she would have finally understood him and never again complained about his unusual habits. If his infamous one-time teacher, Muma Yinbek, could only have been there, he would have finally acknowledged that his pupil had forever eclipsed him. If Day had been alive, she would no doubt have given that silvery giggle in acknowledgement of his genius, smiled her innocent smile, and perhaps touched him gently, perhaps even. But now was not the time for such fancies. Now was not the time for such fancies. Wait, now was not the time for such fancies. There had been compelling reasons for poisoning all 4 of them. So Morvir would have had to settle for his own congratulations.
What the fuck, Morvir? What the fuck? He poisoned everyone. He kills everyone he's ever met. he just does.
Remember back when he was telling Duke Orso was like, kill everybody, and he was like, now he's unfortunately taken back to the memory of accidentally poisoning everybody in the orphan.
Oh, he's such a fucking monster.
Fuck, he's a terrible, terrible human. But especially this comment with Day as well. It's just like he's literally fucking murdered her like 3 months ago, and he's still going, I could have fucked her.
I'm still gonna bag that.
Yeah, we still gonna bag that.
Oh man, it's hilarious. And so he's walking through the ward of the siege of Fontesarmo, noticing that there are no standards to be anything because it is just straight up chaos. And he figured out that Casca would he would take what did he take, like the gatehouse or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're just basically following up. They're just walking through once things get taken over.
Right. So basically, what Morvir is doing is he's going to look for Casca first because he's going to continue his mission to kill Casca and Manza, because even though if Orso falls, he was promised by Valentin Balk payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big payday. And meanwhile, he was told that the constable of the fortress. The largest tower in the outer ward is where he assumed that Casca had made his quarters. That's what it was. And as he's making his way over there, one of the wounded men clutched his ankle and was like, "Water!" And he goes, "Bah! It's always water. Find your own." And he just shakes him off and was like, "The fuck, Morvir? What a dick." So he makes his way into.
I actually love that though. Like, I love how when people think about. Sometimes characters say stereotypical things, right? Like, I love that Joe every now and then will be make fun of his own shit. Like, he'll say the thing that always people would say, but it sounds stereotypical. So then he makes fun of it by having somebody like Morvir being like, Why is it always water? You scumbag. It's so funny, man.
That's funny. So yeah, and so then not Casca, I'm sorry. So Morvier makes his way into Casca's quarters. The first floor had been a storeroom filled with boxes and stuff. Then he goes to the second floor. It's pretty much empty bunks. Finally, he gets to the last floor, which is like a circular room with a large curtained bed, shelves with impressive-looking books, an armor stand, sword rack, table with 4 chairs and a deck of cards, a bunch of stuff. But really, what gives it away that it's Casca's room is a rainbow of it's basically a row of pegs with several outrageous hats, crystal pins gleaming, gilt bands glinting, a rainbow of different colored feathers fluttering in the breeze from an open window. This, without doubt, was the chamber Casca had taken for his own. So
And he does do that right. He does guess rightly.
He does, and now he creeps on silent tiptoes, to the cupboard, to open it up, and he nimbly avoids collision with the covered milking bucket that sat beneath, and with gentle fingers teased open the doors, and he smiled because Casca no doubt would consider himself a wild, romantic maverick, unfettered by the bonds of routine, but in fact he was predictable as the stars because a drunk is always a drunk. So he just had to figure out which bottle to poison. So he figured, you know what, I'm gonna have to poison the entire collection. So he put
the Morpheus special. I'll just poison it all.
So he pulls on his gloves. He takes out the green seed solution. It was lethal only when swallowed, and the timing of effect varied greatly with the victim, but it only gave off the very slightest fruity smell. So if you when you mix it with wine or spirits, it's undetectable. So he takes careful note of the position of each bottle, the degree to which the degree of each cork that it was inserted, and twisted each free. Put a drop in, replace the cork, and put the bottle precisely back as it were prior to him opening the cupboard. And then he was about to leave, make his escape and be free and focus on Monza, I guess.
Well, he's just about to leave, but he can't help just giving himself another pat on the back. It's like, I will blow through this room like a zephyr of death, undetected, and bring a fitting end to that repulsive drunkard. And as he's doing this, the fucking door opens, and he's like...
Well, he hears voices, but yes, that is... And I love how he hears voices that are getting closer, and he's like, "Fuck!" He goes, "Oh shit, where do I go?" So he sees a door, he goes into it, and he closes the door, and he realizes he's hiding in the latrine. So he goes, "I just really hope Casca doesn't have to void his bowels." Oh. So Casca, at this point, he's on the walls, or he's at the tower of the ward, or he's on top of the tower, right? And he's with Victus, and he goes, "All right, looks like in his mind's eye, it looks like we're doing well. When you see one fortress stormed, you see them all." And I like how he goes, "Victus, my friend," and Victus goes, "Uh huh," and he's looking at Casca with like suspicious, like squint, and then. And Casca goes, "I rather suspect that the day is ours." And Victus goes, Yeah, I guess you're right. And he goes, "We could do no more good up here, even if we could see anything." And he goes, "You speak true as ever." Casca took that for a joke. "It's inevitable now. Nothing left but to divide the loot. My favorite part of any siege." And then Casca goes, "Yeah, so cards then?" And Victus goes, "Why ever not?" And he goes, "All right." So they make their way down to his room. He opens the cupboard, and he looks at all the different bottles, and he goes, "A drink, a drink, a drink." And he takes down a glass, pulls the cork out from the nearest bottle, and he goes, "A drink then?" And over his shoulder, and Victus goes, "Why ever not?" And then we switch over perspectives to Monza. Sorry. So
Yeah.
we switch over perspectives over to Monza, and they're still fighting, but nothing like an organized defense. The mercenaries had swept the walls, so now it's chaos, and Monza's leading Shivers this way, that way, this way. There's there's mercenaries beating the shit out of people. Like, where's the money? Where's the fucking money? I half expect them to be having like a guy upside down trying to shake the change out of his pants, very cartoonishly. You know what I mean?
Yes. Everybody's it's like full pandemonium, right? Like this is, I think we get more stuff of this in the new trilogy, but I do like the depiction of how they're looting and like it's just pure chaos and they're killing everything and they're taking everything they want. It'd not be the place I would want to be.
Right. And so talking about all the chaos, like even one pock-faced mercenary was like, "I got spoons" or whatever. This is kind of
like the best line though, isn't it?
Yeah. And then she, again, just guiding Shivers, just her, and they're picking the way, and they're making the way to, it looks like Orso's chamber, that chamber where I guess it all happened, the betrayal and everything. And she goes, "Okay, we're close." And then Shivers goes, "Good, time to get this over with." And she goes, "All right." Her very thoughts, she says that Orso's chambers are up this way. And then she hears Shivers says, No, not that." And she goes, "What?" She looks at him and goes, "What then?" And he goes, "You know what?" And he smiles and he stretches his neck out one way, then the other.
All bloody nine, I will say.
And then she, just in time, she drops into a fighting crouch because he snarls and he came at her, axe flashing across. She lurched into a stool up and then nearly fell, and his axe, crashed into some organ pipes, and then he wrenches the blade free, and he sprang at her again, and this time she's ready for it a little bit, and she blocks him off. He goes, "What the fuck, you one-eyed cocksucker?" Not clever, but, and she lunges at him, but he catches her sword on her shield, his shield, and he swings his axe, and she gets away just in time. She had dropped back, just to keep that distance. She goes, "What the fuck? Why?" And then he goes, "Maybe I got sick of your scorn, or maybe Eider offered me more than you." And she goes, "Eider? That's your problem. You're a fucking idiot." And she tried to catch him off guard. He wasn't having it. And he goes, "I'm the idiot. I saved you how many times? I gave up my eye so you could sneer at me with that empty bastard Rogant? You treat me like a fucking fool and still expect my loyalty. And I'm the idiot?" And then Monza, in her mind's eye, notes that it's hard to argue with most of that now that was stuck under her nose. She should have listened to Rogant, let him put Shivers down, but she let guilt get in the way. Mercy might be brave, but like Casca said, but it seemed like it wasn't always clever.
Hey, at least she's admitting it, though, right? She's not saying Mercy characters are the same. She was like, well,
yeah,
I might have probably did this wrong.
Yeah. So, but she could have just not done that, right? She could have just not treated him that way.
Yeah, I think it was
didn't have to let be like, "Oh, I might as well let Rogant kill him."
Well, I know. I'm just saying, she obviously didn't do it right. I just was saying I like how she was like, well, she didn't say Mercy and Countess are the same. She continued to be like, well, maybe she continues on with the realized ideology that Casca said that's how she actually believes. I would say that's like progression for her. Rather than she should have Rogant killer because Mercy and Countess are the same.
She does make note of it right here because he whispers to her, "You should have seen this coming," and he had a point. She said to herself that it had been a long time coming since she fucked Rogant, since she turned her back on Shivers, since he lost his eye in the cells under Salier's palace. Maybe it had been coming from the first moment they met, before or even always. Some things are inevitable. Bam, bam, bam! And we leave you here, folks, on this cliffhanger of an ending. And that's the end of this chapter read-through. Boys, how do you give this chapter? What do you give it?
I want to give this one just a 7. Not an 8 this time, just a 7. I like this is the final build-up to Shivers and Monza's relationship. Well, I say the final build-up, but it's coming to a climax now where Shivers has finally had enough. He sees his opportunity right before Monza's about to get her revenge, and he just goes for it. And it's like, yeah, fuck it. If not now, then when? I also very much enjoy Morvia's perspective. I love He's just so fucking arrogant. And I love the reveal that he has just literally fucking poisoned every single person in his life.
Everybody, bro. Everyone.
Every single last one.
Oh man, when you want to give him a chance, he finds out that anyone that probably was like part of his life then ended up just getting fucking poisoned.
Yeah, it's awesome that reveal is fantastic to be like, if any kind of sympathy you had for him, out the window. He's just a scumbag.
Very much so, very much so. What are you gonna rate this one, Harrison?
I think 6.9 alcohol. I think for me, I don't think there's anything too significant here. Or I mean, like, yeah, it's like, oh no, he portrayed her. You knew it was gonna happen though. It's crazy to think how long he waited to do it when he could have just done it in her sleep. But that shows his character, that he wanted her to have a reaction. That's what he really did it for, was to see her reaction. Right. He didn't do it because it was strategic. He did it because it was an emotional attack. So he wanted to see how she would react and all of that stuff, which is stupid in his part as well, as much as it is to be stupid that Monza waited. Well, so did he. So they're both fucking idiots.
Yeah. I'll give it a 7 as well, George. I like it. You know, it's fun. There's movement here in the plot. We have this Fonsa's armor. The siege is being carried out now, assault in full earnest. We have Morvir running into Shank, thinking he could possibly poison this guy, and then Shank just being graceful and being like, "Do you even want to try this?" And Morvir taking that chance, thankfully, for him at least, makes, poisons Casca's liquor collection. Oh boy. And Casca now is with Victus alone, and we kind of know where this might be going, but will it happen? Because Morvir's now, it's a 3-way battle. Bump, ba-da-dum, bump, bump, bump. And then we have Friendly following Monza, supposedly. We have Shivers with Monza, and they're looking for Orso. They're close to Orso at some point, and Shivers turns on her. I mean, that's good. That's good. And I like to mention there's another parallel here, if we've noticed, and because we're not seeing it from Friendly's perspective here, but I imagine what his perspective must have been like following Shivers and Monza, if he would have seen like the look on Shivers' face, if he would have noticed anything, because Shivers is very happy-go-lucky here, very grinning. Because the parallel here that I'm going to point out is Last Argument of Kings, another siege of Adua. Logan runs in looking for somebody. Shivers is following him. And Dogman notes that Shivers had a look of murderous revenge on his face. Turns out Shivers saved Logan against that eater. Whereas in this point, he betrays Monza. Or tries to.
I didn't think of that. That's a good parallel.
Just thought about that. So I wonder. So we got that perspective from Dogman, where he saw Shivers' face. He goes, "Oh no, that's not a good face to have. He's going to try to kill Logan." And then here we don't get Friendly's perspective, because now we're in Shivers' minds, or we're in Monza's mind's eye, the one being followed, and then the betrayal actually happens, as opposed to, it not happening at the Siege of Adua. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wonder if Joe did that on purpose. He probably did, knowing Joe, but we'll see. We don't know him personally. We just know his work. But so that's the end of that chapter read-through. And now we'll move on to our final segment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a community interaction segment. Love it.
We do.
Harrison, go ahead.
So I finally, I was working on this a little bit in my brain, trying to think of something just fun to do. I don't do these polls or kind of interaction stuff as much because it's kind of hard to come up with ideas. I did so many of them, and maybe we'll redo them later. But right now, I made this little kind of, thing. It's Valen and Bulk are coming to collect. You got to run. You have 1,000 marks, and you got to spend it, some on your destination where you want to go, and some on some, people who would go with you. So we have the Union, Styria, the North, Old Empire, and Kanta, or the Thousand Isles / Thond, kind of, unknown areas. And they all had a price tag. And then for allies, I put down Clover, Friendly, Casca, Brother Longfoot, Carlet Danida, Tunny, Shivers, Morvir, Vitari, Vic, Bloody Nine, and Shank. I tried to pick people who would actually go with you and who wouldn't just be Oh, yeah, like I didn't want to pick like Gorse. Gorse would never leave the Union. You know what I mean? He just is gonna be. He's a loyal soldier, as much as the X-Lexi isn't. So people like that I didn't put on here. I did to pick people who are already outcast or would be love to be paid to do it. But there was a lot of positive feedback. So thank you for everybody who participated and gave ideas. The majority of these had to people were bringing like Tunny and Carlot to go to the beach, to chill out away. To go to Thousand Isles of Thond. A lot of people picked Styria with Vitari and somebody else, which is perfect. That's what I would have done as well because, well, Vitari is super resourceful. She knows everybody. She's a pretty good fighter. It was just pretty cool to see everybody interact. Who would you guys pick? I said mine in here to somebody who asked, which would be, I think I'd go to Kanta and bring Carlot and Vic because it'd be between those two. I think I'd probably be able to get in anywhere and just hunker down. And there's no way Balin and Volk are gonna go to Kanta. It's just expensive to go there.
It is.
What would you guys? What would you guys pick?
Oh, I don't know, man.
I'm just gonna go easy, and I'm gonna say, gonna stay in the Union and pick Shanked. Just take my chances.
There were a couple of people who said that, and they were like, I'll 1v1 Balin and Bulk. I'll slowly whittle them down with Shanked. Like that was pretty good.
I forget the cost ratio, whatever but I would probably just do the North and Shanked. I mean, once you have Shanked as your bodyguard, you're golden.
Bro. I did that way on purpose. The North costs too much. The only way you can pick Shanked is if you stay in the Union because Shanked is OP, bro. So that's why I did that.
Okay.
Which
well,
I did spend some time thinking about the balance of this to a certain degree. I obviously was just trying to be fun, but if I pick if I just let you can pick Shanked and you can go anywhere, then everybody would pick Shanked.
That makes sense. Okay. Well,
also, Shank is fucking expensive. You already know he'd be like,
how much? I gotta look. I gotta look.
$1,000,000 marks.
$1,000,000 marks? Yeah, damn.
While you're taking a look, I'll go over some of them. Somebody said hire Shank, and eventually they'll make me executive. A lot of people said they would pick some stuff and they would save money. They'd be like, I'd have 150 left over for some booze. Somebody said, I just go to a bar in the Union and spend all my money on alcohol, and at some point Costco would show up and we'd just hang out. I was definitely surprised how many people picked Carlot, but I'm glad to see it. She doesn't get as much attention as she deserves.
No. Some people did pick for the quote unquote companionship, which is I think a little bit.
Well, I did. Well, to be fair, inside of it, I did say, hey. She's a good companion in that way. But what I mean is, I don't mean sensually. I really didn't.
Somebody actually did put quote unquote companionship.
Well, I did put down for Carlot. I did put down, like, hey, you could put Carlot. She's probably trying to escape too. Clever and actual relationship material. Because everybody else would be fucking annoying or would be trying to kill you too. Or eventually, like they'd be difficult to get along with. Carlot would actually be pleasant. You would enjoy your time. Her and Tunny would actually be enjoyable to be around for a long period of time.
You say that about Tunny, but I think Tunny would just abandon you straight away. It's like,
no, that's the point. Is that he would go with you. Tunny would absolutely go with you, and he'd be like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what I think I do? I do Carlot and Friendly to the Thousand Isles.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah.
Friendly because he'll do what you ask. He doesn't have ambition, right? He's a good fighter. He's a good cook. He's great at keeping things in order. And Carlot is a good businesswoman, and I would absolutely love to try to bang her and be in a relationship with her. And then,
that's my man, Jeff.
Yeah, and then the Thousand Isles or Thond or whatever, go to some place that's beaches, some Mai Tais,
That's what so many people thought of too. Everyone's like, "Sweet, I'll go to the beach," like the Florida option.
Yeah, exactly.
The top comment here was, "Go to the Union with Brother Longfoot. Save the rest. The man is a Swiss Army knife of talents. He'd surely keep us out of trouble."
Oh, that's excellent. That is.
And
excellent.
somebody said, "Tunny and I are growing up north. We're saving the 650." Good post. And then somebody else said, "Yeah, saving 650. Slash that out. Spending 650 on pearl dust and hookers."
Oh my god.
And then this is my favorite one. Bias versus the Magi. He was like he's like the second comment said, "Better believe I'm coming for your head." I had a lot of fun with this. I know my creative juices are limited as of late with a lot of things going on in personal life, but I had a lot of fun seeing everybody post on here, and I recommend if you go on to First Law, you can see a lot of fun comments and stuff. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. I went on the account the other day and I saw all this and I saw like 100 replies. I was like, yes, Harrison's making stuff again. This is good.
Love it. Love it. It's great. We love it.
But that's it for me.
I do want to point out that somebody did say that why is Yulway not on this list, and I just want to say he's probably he's locked in the house of the maker. So
he's unavailable. He's unavailable at this moment.
All right, busy.
His schedule is booked for the foreseeable future. Yeah. Although we will note, we are a kind group of people. We accept criticism of all sorts. Valid criticism.
Constructive criticism, yes.
There was a gentleman, and George, I found out today that George had blocked him, which I don't agree with. You should unblock him. But apparently his comment was that, what was it? It's another grift for a shit podcast. And sir, I will have you know, I think
you've had feelings.
No, George.
George,
I'm muting you. You stop talking right now. You're too soft right now, sir. I will have you know that this was a gift, not a grift. A gift for a free shit podcast. Good sir, we know that we are a shit podcast. You did not need to bring yourself into this conversation if you had nothing to contribute. You just wanted people to respond to you, and our homies did. And I'm responding to you, but unfortunately, you won't hear it because we're a shit podcast, so you wouldn't know what I'm saying right now, right? There's no way you would hear it, so there's no way you would know, because I'm not going to respond to you on Reddit over the keyboard. Oh, my good sir. Like Sir Spaceman said, you, or Bloody Niner, you show me on the little teddy bear where we touched you, and then I'll make sure I just kiss the boo-boo, okay? Why don't you just focus on, I don't know, finding people that care about you in your life. Focus on that. And then, good luck on that. Toodles. Other than that, if you want to talk shit to us, go ahead. Say that my voice is annoying or my accents are terrible. Say that Harrison is too old. Say that George is too nice. Say something insulting about us. We will accept it. But don't you call us grifters, because we are actually fucking in the negative in terms of any kind of money-making scheme. We're doing this for free just to fucking talk shit.
Yeah, this would be the worst grift ever. Like, we've spent like $400 on it. We've got fuck all. Well, except maybe the real grift was the friends we made along the way.
Wait a minute, that was my comment.
Oh. We're about as good as grifting as Morvir is at interpersonal relationships. So, anyway, but my man, the one with the comment, if you see the light, you just let us know. We'll welcome you back in with open arms after the Archlector flays you alive.
With arms wide open.
So, anyway, but that's pretty much it, folks. That was a fun episode to do. We hope you enjoyed it. Next week is going to be a wild one. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support means oh so much.
Join us next week as we cover Thus the Whirligig.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media, on the Reddit, and we have a website at circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. And please make sure to rate and review us. Thank you all again for listening.
A child of a bloody time.